first things first. So we want to prepare the sweet potatoes. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to saute these in coconut oil, garlic, and then adding a little turmeric as we saute. Then we're going to throw some bone broth into the potatoes as a liquid to help soak into the potatoes and give us a few more nutrients along the way. So first thing we want to do is we want to peel that potato.
Now, question for you, Nick. Our family eats a lot of sweet potatoes, but I tend to cut them, leave the skin on, and then bake them with olive oil. Do you typically skin it every time?
I do not usually skin it every time. Great question. I would wash it, right? Scrub it with a brush over the sink, just to kind of make sure that you clear out any, just whatever could be on the outside, whether it's dust or whatever particles. That's just one of the things that I know, how it may factor into eliminating toxins. I'm sure it can kind of get rid of surface level stuff. It obviously cannot remove, how the sweet potato was necessarily grown, that kind of thing. But we can do anything like we can wash and spray and scrub vegetables that would remove those types of toxins and particles on our foods. So
excellent. Yeah, I know Dr. Cabral kind of alluded to it a little bit when he was talking earlier in the show, which is the Dirty Dozen and how it changes every year, every other year based on, pesticides in the environment and where those foods are grown. And that's kind of what Nick's talking about right now.
Yes. And I think that, I think even from a, I know I've talked to a lot of people out there, and they're like, even from a cost perspective, Dr. Cabral's not saying we need to eat everything organic. There's resources available to help us understand, what are some of those things that aren't necessarily organic that we can eat, that are on that, not the Dirty Dozen list, but the Clean 15 list. So
yes.
I wonder if we can somehow share that with is there a link to his thing in that? Okay.
Yeah, we can. I'll make sure I queue that up for them as well, and probably for our listeners that are not in the farming industry. Just because it's not organic doesn't mean that it's not sustainably grown. And so what I mean by that is it can be quite expensive to some farms to go through the certification process, and so sometimes that's why they choose not to be certified organic. And so just want to let you know that it could still be grown in an environmental friendly method without the label of organic on it.
Yes, and if you're at that farmer's market, have that conversation with the farmer. The farmer knows much better than I do. I know that much, right? The farmer's in it. He's working, his or her hands are in the ground. They know what's going into their product and into what they're growing better than I do. So they may even have a very good reason or emphasis as to why it is grown the way it is grown. So great point. All right, so I'm heating up my pan a little over medium heat. What I'm gonna want to do is, as usually, if you boil potatoes, you can just kind of usually have them and throw them in the pot, but I want these to take about 10 minutes, so I'm going to try to keep them all within about a 1 inch or 2 inch cube. So what's going to happen, I'm just going to dice these up real quick, trying to keep that somewhat uniform. It doesn't have to be completely. So again, I'm always focusing when I'm cutting anything that that I'm cutting on a flat surface, just trying to move through this. All right. So now that they're all about the same size here, okay, very nice. I'm gonna add some coconut oil into my pan here. And we're gonna go ahead and add those in. I'm gonna let those saute for about a couple minutes. And then we're gonna add our garlic and turmeric. And then we'll add our chicken broth at the end of that. So as those potatoes are cooking, one of the things that if you would do at that same point would probably go ahead and cook your quinoa or your brown rice, and that's an option here. Like you could double down on the greens here and just do sweet potato and greens. So there's numbers of different options you can do here. But we also want to get the dressing going. So as those potatoes are cooking, we're going to multitask. So what I'm going to do here is I've got a lemon jalapeno vinaigrette. So I've got a fresh jalapeno I'm going to cut. So I'm going to lob the top off, and then I'm going to break open the jalapeno, and I'm going to take a spoon and scrape the insides of the jalapeno out. I strongly recommend that you don't use your fingers and then go to the bathroom, because that can be a very peppery experience.
Yeah.
You know what? So on your privates.
Yes, definitely. You want to clean your hands if you're handling jalapenos for sure.
All right, so I'll put the jalapenos in. I'm going to turn around and stir up my. So with these sweet potatoes, real quick, I'm going to go ahead and add my garlic, a little bit of 2 cloves of garlic here, and then about 2 teaspoons of, and I'm just eyeballing turmeric, and I'm going to let that go, keep going. And as that is going, I'm just looking for the garlic to kind of brown up just slightly, where that aromatic component of garlic as soon as it hits the pan. And then what I'm going to do is add a couple cups of chicken broth into the potatoes, and I'm going to let them come to a boil and then simmer them down. And that's how we're going to cook the sweet potatoes down. So yeah, that turmeric and the turmeric and the chicken broth are going to infuse, all those nutrients are going to infuse into the sweet potatoes here. So know that we're going to be putting this on a dish, like on a plate, and so those flavors are going to meld with other flavors, right? Like the sweet potato is going to be sweet. So we want to be also mindful that we don't want to make this too sweet, and then it's going to be too sweet of a dish with like something like a sweet potato. So we have to have that awareness of what we're all working with. And then with the egg, we're going to have a little bit more fat to kind of drizzle down onto the dish as well. So, all right. So as you can kind of see with the sweet potatoes here, so they're kind of just boiling in a nice bath here. And then eventually what's going to happen is they're going to cook down so well that you're going to kind of have like a mush. And so what we want to do now is transfer these into a bowl, and we want to reserve some of that liquid. Some of that's going to boil down, but we want some of that liquid to also go into the mashed potato. So next thing, I'm going to give these like a mashed potato look. All right, we might want to do a little salt check here. Could use a touch of salt. All right, so now that the dressing is done, so just for the viewers at home, those potatoes did not get done that fast. These potatoes that are cooking right now will take roughly about 10 minutes. And what you're looking for is you'll take like a fork or a paring knife, and once it's like it just sort of goes straight into the potato, you'll know it's done. And then you can remove whatever excess liquid is still there. Again, remember to reserve some of it for when you go and mash these up, because you'll need a little bit of liquid to kind of help the process.
Okay.
So now what we want to do is start to get our egg ready. So I've got a skillet going. And then as that is going on, I'm going to pre-dress slightly so I have arugula and some sunflower microgreens that I'm going to mix together. And that's going to be part of our meal here, but just letting you know, you can use spinach, you can use any type of green, microgreen, anything that's kind of suiting your fancy. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting the bowl together. So I have a brown rice rainbow quinoa mixture. So I'll start there. And then I'm going to come next to those sweet potatoes. I'm just going to go that right there. And then I'm going to add my microgreens here. And then the final thing we want to do is what we're going to do. We're going to add that egg on top. So give me 1 second. So again, with the egg, when I put that down, so I'm going to crack it nice and easy. I'm going to hold it very close to the frying pan and gently peel it open. And then, whoop. Don't move it too fast. So once I'll salt it. Where did I put my salt? There it is. All right. So once the egg is done, then we'll finish dressing it. And I guess the other thing one could do here too, Troy, is, and folks at home, is that if you wanted to add just a touch of protein, you could add like some smoked salmon. You could add some roast, like broiled cod, or some chicken thighs, or you could add a flank steak or something. So this is really just a great base. It doesn't have to have meat. I suppose if you could do some kind of tofu as well and keep the egg away. But yes, there are a number of different things one can do.
While you're flipping that back there, I'm just curious, Nick, I know you use a lot of wood cutting boards there. And so, do you have any tips for people on how to clean wood cutting boards?
Yes. So I do. So a couple things that when it comes to wood cutting boards is I think it's the best for your knife as far as like the health of the blade and everything, but it also requires a little bit more extra care. So
yes,
I don't know if this has ever happened to you, Troy, but like, let's say that I just got done like mincing garlic and then I throw something like an apple on there and I'm going to eat that apple fresh and I've got this like lingering garlic taste now infused on my apple and I'm like, oh man, right? So a lot of times what I do in the kitchen is I actually I try to mark which things are going to be aromatic and other things like fresh vegetables that are not going to carry over those aromatics. Now, if you do get an aromatic on your wood cutting board, you can do vinegar and baking soda to help and take a brush, and you might need to do it a few times, but that's going to help deodorize and neutralize that smell and that taste on the cutting board. And then as far as wood is concerned, you're going to want to treat it with like mineral oil every month or so.
Okay. No, that's helpful. A little funny story here while you bring that egg over here. Kellen, I don't know if it's because we fed him so many avocados when he was a baby, but he does not like avocados. And so what's funny is if we chop an avocado on the cutting board and it touches any other part of the veggies or anything we're chopping and he catches a small fragment, he'll give us a hard time and be like, why did you put that avocado on my food? So
all right, so my egg is done. This is probably an over easy egg here. So I'm going to put that right in the middle. And then I've got some pistachios that I'm going to dust on top. Because, again, what did I say last time when I'm making a bowl, Troy? Do you remember?
No.
Like textures. So it's really good to have textures, yes. At least from my perspective, to have so the nuts are going to be really good in here. Again, you could also do sunflower seeds. You could do maybe maybe you want some kimchi on top or something, right? So there's a lot of different things that, folks at home can do with this. And then the final thing, if we wanted a little bit more dressing attached to it. So what we do is just add a little bit of extra dressing on top, and voila, you have the wild Ayurvedic Dr. Cabral bowl.